It seems to me that underlying a lot of these results on Tuesday was a frustration with this administration and how it's handling the pandemic. It's vaccine mandates, its refusal to acknowledge natural immunity, its punishment of the working class guys, the firefighters, the cops, even the teachers who helped get us through the pandemic, with firing them or, benching them without pay if they won't get the vaccine, even if they've got a valid medical exemption or religious exemption or natural immunity, something they account for in Europe, but we've decided doesn't exist inexplicably here in the United States. We just choose to totally ignore it. And all of this plays out against the backdrop of how did this thing get started? The total unwillingness of our intel agencies. They had issued a 3-page summary months ago on their second look at how COVID got started. Was it in a lab? Was it natural through an animal? Well, they just released the full 18-page report about a week ago, and it was utterly benign and unhelpful. And to me, just betrayed their unwillingness to really look. We won't press China. We won't punish China for hiding the data. We're too beholden to China. And there's a real chance here that this was from the Wuhan lab. That certainly should be the predominant theory. And possibly with some nefarious actor behind it. We don't know. At a minimum, it appears we funded very dangerous research in that lab. And that is one of the things that was on the topic today, on the docket today, when Rand Paul was pushing Anthony Fauci yet again on whether we funded, quote, gain of function research. And just by way of background, as you watch this clip for the audience, what happened was the NIH, after Fauci's last dust up with Rand Paul, where Rand kept saying, you funded gain of function research, and Fauci kept saying, no, you don't know what you're talking about. That day, the NIH went back on the website and changed the definition of gain of function. So now Rand Paul gets another bite at the apple, and here's just a little bit of his exchange with Dr. Fauci. Watch.
So what you're doing is defining away gain of function. No. You're simply saying it doesn't exist because you changed the definition on the NIH website. This is terrible, and you're completely trying to escape the idea that we should do something about trying to prevent a pandemic from leaking from a lab. There's the preponderance of evidence now points towards this coming from the lab, and what you've done is change the definition on your website to try to cover your ass, basically.
And then on January of 2017, the Office of Science and Technology Policy of the White House issued the current policy.
And coincidentally,
I have not changed
the definition appeared on the same day the NIH said that, yes, there was a gain of function in Wuhan. The same day the definition appeared, the new definition, to try to define away what's going on in Wuhan. Until you accept it, until you accept responsibility, we're not going to get anywhere close to trying to prevent another lab leak of this dangerous sort of experiment. You won't admit that it's dangerous, and for that lack of judgment, I think it's time that you resign.
I have a great deal of respect for this body of the Senate, and it makes me very uncomfortable to have to say something, but he is egregiously incorrect in what he says. Thank you.
History will figure that out on its own.
On and on it goes, Victor, and maybe we'll never have a final verdict, but I think the American people are figuring it out for themselves.
Yeah, I think what is he doing, Megyn? He's making the argument from authority. I'm Anthony Fauci. I'm a famous public health servant. I'm the head of the National Institute of Allergies and Infectious Diseases, and what I say counts because of the letters after my name. But he's also talking to an MD who's a U.S. senator who's pretty well informed. And I think what he's basically telling us, Anthony Fauci and also Rand Paul, is that if you just step back from the turmoil right now and put it in historical perspective, we've got about 770,000 people that died. And this is the largest disaster that's hit this country. If you look at the economic, cultural, social, all the things we've been talking about earlier, Megyn, in some cases were let off. They were IEDs that were exploded by this COVID stuff. They were there, but they were activated by this crisis. And really what we're talking about is Anthony Fauci, at the age of 80, is essentially can't deal with the reality that he spent U.S. government money when gain of function was not allowed and routed it through Echo Health. And it ended up, I think he knew it and he intended it so, in the Wuhan's level 4 lab that had Chinese military oversight of it. And they created a gain of function virus that seems to be very pernicious in its mutations, except for transmissibility. And in some way, we have culpability for it. And we being America, and him in particular. And at 80, I don't think he's able to resign or retire with that legacy. So he's not. But the more that he digs in, the more it requires him not to tell the truth and not to face reality. And it's another, I mean, look at the people, Megyn, that we have created in these positions of power. They're public servants. Sometimes they do very good jobs, but Anthony Fauci, Mark Milley, James Comey, John Brennan, Andrew McCabe, Robert Mueller, they all get before Congress and they cannot tell the truth or be candid. None of them can. And so it's a reminder, we've given these people enormous powers of executive branch, legislative branch, judicial branch. Anthony Fauci, just a few months ago, was determining whether landlords could collect rent from their tenants based on the degree of COVID pandemic levels. And he would say, no, it's still dangerous. And then the government would say, okay, you renters can suspend payment to your landlords, not all of whom were wealthy. And so we've given these people so much power, and they're so unaccountable that they have an arrogance about them when they're caught. And they're very scary people. And when they get caught, I'm General Milley, and I've got this chest of medals here, and look at this. And that, you know what, that was a righteous strike, that drone strike. And this was a logistical success getting out. And if you question him, then you're unpatriotic. Or I'm Anthony Fauci, and how dare you suggest that I would have anything to do with gain of function? That's beneath you. This body, and that's the reply. Or I'm James Comey, or I'm Robert Mueller. I don't know anything about GPS, using GPS. I don't know anything about the Steele dossier. Why should I? Well, it's the basis of your whole investigation. And so I think this is all caught up to what we're talking about. The people feel that they've lost control of the government, that their elected officials, but especially their unelected officials, simply are not accountable. And they can't audit them. They can't hold them responsible. And they're getting angrier and angrier about it. And the more Fauci
literally said, I am science. Well,
he does.
Okay.
He does.
We'll be the judge of that.